All right, is that PHP midterm looming? Maybe you feel like you've missed, I don't know, pretty much every class? Hey, don't sweat it. Seriously, this is your survival guide. We're going to cover the absolute must-know stuff from the first 3 units piece by piece. My only goal here? It's to get you walking into that exam feeling like you actually know what you're doing. So let's get you ready. Okay, so here's the plan. First, we're going to tackle the why. Why does PHP even exist? We'll look at static versus dynamic websites. Then we'll get our toolkit ready, the local environments. After that, it's the main event, writing some actual PHP code that can think and make decisions. And to wrap it all up, we'll do a super quick revision to make sure all this stuff sticks in your brain for the exam. Sound good? Let's do it. All right, first things first. Let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Before we even think about writing code, we need to understand the world that PHP operates in. I mean, why do we even need something like PHP? Well, the short answer is to make websites do stuff, to make them feel alive. And this is where we hit our first big concept, the huge difference between a static website and a dynamic one. A static website, it's kind of like a poster on a wall. It looks nice, you can read it, but that's it. It's the same for everyone, every single time. A dynamic website, though, that's more like a video game. It reacts to what you do. You click a button, something happens. You log in, you see your own profile. It's interactive. And that's exactly what PHP lets us build. Websites that are less like posters and more like conversations. Okay, here's a great way to think about this. Imagine you're in a restaurant. Client-side scripting, that's stuff like JavaScript, is like the waiter. They're right there at your table, taking your order, maybe refilling your water. It happens right in front of you, in your browser. But server-side scripting, where PHP lives, that's the chef in the kitchen. All the real work, the cooking, the chopping, the magic, happens back there on the server. You, the customer, just get the finished plate. And because all that important stuff happens behind the scenes, it's way more secure. That's PHP's domain, the kitchen of the web. Okay, quick vocab check. These are terms you absolutely need to know. First, the web server. That's basically the computer where a website lives. Think of it like a restaurant's physical building. HTTP? That's the protocol, the way your browser asks the server for a web page. It's like the language you use to place an order. Now HTTPS, see that S? That stands for secure. It's like whispering your order so no one else can hear it. Super important for passwords or credit cards. And FTP? That's just a way to upload files to the server, like a delivery truck bringing ingredients to the restaurant. Simple as that. Okay, so we've got the theory down. We know why PHP is a thing. Now for the fun part, the how. How do we actually do any of this stuff? Well, to practice writing PHP, you need a server. And instead of renting one, we're going to turn your own computer into a mini server. I know, that sounds super technical and maybe a little scary, but trust me, it's not. We're about to look at what's called a local development environment. So the big question is, how on earth do you run a full-blown web server on your own machine? Do you need a bunch of complicated software and a degree in computer science? Nope, not at all. The solution is actually an all-in-one package that does all the heavy lifting for you. And that solution is called XAMPP. Seriously, just remember that name, XAMPP. It's basically a web server in a box. It's totally free, easy to install, and it bundles everything you need. Apache, which is the server, MySQL, the database, and of course, PHP itself. One install, and boom, your computer is now a development server. It's your own little sandbox where you can build and break things without anyone else seeing. Now, you might also hear about something called WAMP. What's the difference? It's pretty simple, actually. WAMP is for Windows only. The W literally stands for Windows. XAMPP, on the other hand, is cross-platform. The X means it works on Windows, Mac, Linux, pretty much anything. So for flexibility, XAMPP is usually the way to go. It's the one-size-fits-all solution. Okay, 2 more quick things you need to know about your new local server. These are 2 important configuration files. First is php.ini. Think of this as the main settings panel for PHP itself. It controls things like how much memory your scripts can use or the maximum size of a file you can upload. Then there's .htaccess. This file lets you control settings for a specific folder or part of your website, right from inside that folder. You probably won't touch these much at first, but it's crucial to know they exist. All right, deep breath. This is it. We set the stage, we've got our tools. Now it's time to actually write some code. We're finally diving into the PHP language itself. And look, if you've never coded before, don't worry. We're going to take this super slow, step by step. The goal here is to understand the basics, not to become an expert overnight. Let's look at our very first piece of PHP. There it is, the classic first program in any language. Just a few lines of code. It might not look like much, but every single complex web application out there started with something this simple. So let's break down exactly what's happening here. Okay, let's look at the pieces. First, you see those PHP things. Those are the PHP tags. They're like light switches. They tell the server, hey, the code between here and there is PHP. Pay attention. Everything outside of them is just regular HTML. Then you have echo. That's maybe the simplest and most common command. It just means print this to the screen. And finally, the semicolon. This is super, super important. Every single statement in PHP has to end with a semicolon. It's like the period at the end of a sentence. If you forget it, PHP gets very confused. The result of all this? The server processes it and just sends the simple text, hello PHP, to the browser. All right, let's level up a bit. We're going to talk about variables and something called scope. Now, this is a concept that can trip people up at first, so we'll go slow. Just think of variables as containers for storing information. And scope is all about where those containers are accessible. So let's break this down. First line, x equals 10. In PHP, all variables start with a $sign. That's a rule. Here we're just creating a container called x and putting the number 10 inside it. Simple enough. But then we have a function. Think of a function as its own little isolated world. By default, it can't see the x that we created outside. It's in a different scope. So if we want the function to use that outside variable, we have to explicitly bring it in using the keyword global. That line, global x, is like opening a window from inside the function to the outside world. After that, echo x can see the value and it will print out 10. Up until now, our code has been pretty dumb, right? It just runs from top to bottom, one line after another. But the real power of programming comes when you can make your code, well, think. When it can make decisions and repeat actions. This is called controlling the flow of your code, and we do it with two main tools, conditions and loops. Let's start with making decisions. Imagine your code comes to a fork in the road. Should it go left or right? An if statement is what lets it make that choice. It asks a simple true or false question, and based on the answer, it decides which path to take. So here's how it works. The if keyword starts the whole thing. The question, or the condition, goes inside the parentheses. In this case, the question is the value of $A less than the value of $B? Well, is 5 less than 10? Yes, it is. That's true. And because the condition is true, the code inside the curly braces, less than braces open, gets to run. If the condition were false, let's say if $A was 15, then the code inside the braces would just be skipped entirely. So in this case, the output is A is smaller. Okay, so if statements are for doing something once if a condition is met. But what if you need to do something over and over again? You don't want to copy and paste the same code 100 times. That's what loops are for. A loop is just a way to tell PHP, hey, run this block of code repeatedly until I tell you to stop. Now, this for loop looks a little intimidating, but it's really just 3 parts inside the parentheses separated by semicolons. Part 1, $I equals 1, is the setup. We create a counter variable, $I, and start it at 1. Part 2, $I is less than or equal to 3, is the condition. This tells the loop, keep running as long as $I is less than or equal to 3. Part 3, $I++ is what happens after each loop. It just means add 1 to $I. So it runs once, $I is 1, it prints 1. It runs again, $I is 2, it prints 2. It runs a third time, $I is 3, it prints 3. Now $I becomes 4, the condition $I is less than or equal to 3 is false, and the loop stops. The final output is just 1, 2, 3. And that's it. You made it through the core concepts. We've gone from big ideas about the web all the way down to a single line of code. So now let's just do a super fast recap. This is the stuff you absolutely, positively have to remember for the exam. Think of this as your last-minute cheat sheet. Okay, let's drill these in. Number 1, PHP is a server-side language. The work happens on the server, not in the user's browser. 2, HTTPS is the secure one. S for secure. 3, XAMPP is that all-in-one package that turns your computer into a server. 4, in PHP, variables always start with a $sign. 5, If statements are how your code makes decisions. And 6, loops are how your code does things over and over. Got it? Those 6 points are the absolute bedrock. So we've covered a lot, but it all comes down to one thing. You now understand the basics of how a server thinks. You know how it can serve up different content, make decisions, and repeat tasks. That's the core of a dynamic website. So my question to you is this. Now that you have a peek behind the curtain, what's the very first dynamic feature you'd want to build? A login page, a personalized welcome message? Think about it. That's where this all starts. Okay, good luck on that midterm. You're going to do great.